during the white colonial period, most of the central province was decamped, and the local indigenous Kenyans were moved to camps, and only white farmers were allowed to settle in those areas. So our landlord was a man called Mr. Knight, and Mr. Knight, in fact, approached my great-grandfather and said, "Why don't you set up a shop in his farm to support his workers, his African workers, and also the white farmers around in that area?" That was in the 1920s or something. It was a long time ago. The second one, I think you have to leave your ego at the door, particularly for men. Men carry ego on the sleeve. So my brother and I have to be quite careful with each other that we don't let that seep in.
Hello viewers, I welcome you all in the third episode of Conversation with Business Shujaa. As we promised, in every episode we bring a distinguished guest and who shares incredible experience with us. Today we have a very interesting guest. He is a business leader and we will get to know from him his business experience. He is the managing director of Elgon Kenya. He holds a chair in many important organizations like ASNET, ACEA, Association of Fertilizers in Kenya, and private sector EU Kenya, like that. And also he holds positions in organizations like KEPSA in Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, etc. He is none other than Dr. Bimal Kantaria. Dr. Kantaria, I welcome you in this podcast and thank you for giving your time to us to listen to you.
Excellent. Thank you for inviting me.
So, as you come from a very illustrious family legacy of business, so we would like to take our conversation through that line and know about your experience, because a lot of our viewers, they show eagerness to learn like how it happens, like a business can go beyond 2-3 generations. So you are the 4th generation probably in Elgen Kenya, which is more than a century old organization. So can you please tell us the initial journey of Elgen Kenya?
Yeah, it's great. So it's a proud historic moment for us, obviously, as a family. We started my company in 1898. Obviously, we're Indians. We came from Gujarat. So we came on the back of the British railway workers. The Indian railway workers who were brought in by the British colonialists. So a whole bunch of families came with that initial boatload. So our job was basically to support the Indian railway workers. And as the railway progressed into the hinterland, so our family moved with them. Eventually, we settled in the White Highlands, a place called Tigoni, where we were allowed to settle. I don't know if you know the history of Kenya, but during the white colonial period, most of the central province was decamped, and the local indigenous Kenyans were moved to camps, and only white farmers were allowed to settle in those areas. So our landlord was a man called Mr. Knight, and Mr. Knight, in fact, approached my great-grandfather and said, "Why don't you set up a shop in his farm to support his workers, his African workers, and also the white farmers around in that area?" That was in the 1920s or something. It was a long time ago. So we've been living in the same part of Tigoni for about 70 years. We lived, or 80 years, we lived in the same part of Nairobi. Eventually, in independence, we bought out Mr. Knight, our little plot of land. We developed our industries. In fact, our very first business that my great-grandfather and my grandfather were doing was selling charcoal. So they used to make charcoal in Tigoni and take it to Nairobi. Obviously, there was no roads or anything that time. They used to take 4 bags of charcoal in their little pickup, come to Nairobi and sell it for 10 cents a bag. So 40 cents they'd make, and then in the next day drive back to Tigoni. So that's how my family started. When my uncle and my dad joined the business, my dad was educated in England. They grew the business into manufacturing. So we went into making prefabricated timber houses. So we went into nail manufacturing, plastics manufacturing, and the business grew. And another part of our family went into finance. So we were part of Prime Bank. My uncle is an MD of Prime Bank, and several other uncles are here making, in different types of businesses. But we're all one family, growing from the same roots. So very interesting, long history in this country.
Indeed. And this name Elgon Kenya, when did it come?
So there's an interesting history. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a deliberate move by the new government to ensure that the British colonial businesses were handed over to African businesses, to African entrepreneurs. So a lot of these small towns, businesses were encouraged to move to big cities. And we were in Tigoni, in the heart of Central District, as you can imagine. And so the idea, one of our neighbors said, why don't you convert your name into a English sounding name? And that's how Elgen came. Elgen is a mountain, obviously Mount Elgon. So it gave us a little bit of a neutral name. That's how the name came. Or else our family original company is called GD Brothers, after my great grandfather, which is Gordon Das Dharmshim Brothers. And interesting, Ananya, that business is still going. I'm still the director of a company that my great grandfather was director of. So it's the same company doing reasonably same sort of stuff. Yeah.
And it is still in Tigoni, or it is now in?
So we moved to Nairobi about 15, 16 years ago. In fact, the Tigoni house is still there. So we own the house there, but our property, we sold it. And the reason for moving to Nairobi was my brother and I joined the business. We came back from university in 1991, 1992. We didn't have enough space in Tigoni. The power supplies was poor. The telephone system was poor. So we moved to Mombasa Road. We bought a bit of land and expanded the business there. So now we employ 800 people on site, and we're the largest agro inputs company in the country. We do manufacturing of packaging. We do fertilizers. We do chemicals. We do irrigation equipment. A lot of that now we begin to manufacture locally. Previously, we used to import most of our stuff. Over the last 5, 10, 15 years, we're beginning to put much more manufacturing in place. And the business is growing steadily, yeah.
Yeah, that we all know about. And as you are mentioning that you have, this journey has been, constant evolutionizing. That's why where it has reached, this Elgen Kenya, it has reached there. So what are the factors that really worked in your favor? And also, as you mentioned, that there were some other business ventures that you did. Some of them may not have worked for you. So those were definitely challenges. So we would like to know not only the success story, definitely we want to know the factors that worked for you, but also how you tackled those challenges.
So it's an evolution, like you said, it's a journey. So I'll give you a couple of examples. I think some of the big problems and the big benefits in this country is that the external environment changes a lot, as you can imagine. Government policy is very, it changes rapidly. Markets change rapidly. And we all know about the IT revolution. Things move quickly. And if you factor in things like climate change, when there's drought, there isn't a drought, there's too much rain, too little rain. There's so many external factors which make it quite difficult to run a business in this country. Particularly, as I said, policies change quite rapidly. So we've done several businesses. For instance, we were the largest plastic bag manufacturer in this country, right? We were pretty big in plastic bag manufacturing. Suddenly the law changed. They banned plastic bags. So we were sitting on close to 200 million shillings of machinery. We employed about 200 people in that department. So when the law passed, we had to sack so many people. We had to shut down the whole department. It was so devastating in this country that about 3% of total manufacturing shut down. I don't think the government wanted to be so harsh. I think there was a policy change which happened accidentally. But they took a very drastic move, and by the time they realized what they had done, it was already too late. So a massive amount of disruption happened in the economy. Then you look at drought, for instance. We had 4 years of drought. So again, your business has to shift. So some of our sectors couldn't perform. So we had to evolve ourselves. I think one of the strengths in a family business definitely is that you're very nimble. I don't have a big board of directors. My brother and my sister and I, with 3 of us, we run the company. And we can take decisions quite quickly. It's just 3 of us to convince. And the general principle in our company is, first, we have to be unanimous. So if any one of us can object to an idea, so that's important. The second one, I think you have to leave your ego at the door, particularly for men. Men carry ego on the sleeve. So my brother and I have to be quite careful with each other that we don't let that seep in. Third thing, of course, is a family. So there are emotional connections and emotional decisions, but you have to be quite gentle with those kind of things. The fourth, of course, is important. There's the family only. There's wives and husbands and children all connected to you indirectly or directly, and you have to take in all that consideration. Not only for my family, Ananya, we spend a great deal of thinking process of our staff as well. So I'll give an example. I am fourth generation in my company, but I've got staff who are also fourth generation. I've got people whose great grandfathers and grandfathers used to work for us. And I have a principle in my company that if you retire from my company, I will allow you 1 or 2 people from your own family to come and work in my company. So there is constant, handover. A great deal of emotion is tied into the company, not by us only, but by our staff. I've got instances, I remember when I initially joined the business, when staff would come up to me and tell me off. And they said, your grandfather didn't do it like this. Why are you doing like this? And they would correct you. But they felt the confidence that that this was their right to tell me off. And I was a young budding businessman. So it's fascinating to see the history of not only us, but also the people around us that they grew with us. They still grow with us. We're very, very, very gentle and careful on how we manage staff. Big corporate multinationals are quite, they say staff are the most important thing in the company. When it's time to cut back, they slash staff the first thing. So for instance, I'll give an example. When the plastic ban happened, there was time to lay off 200 people. But I waited 3 months. I had no business. Everything was shut down. But I said, maybe government will change policy. I was the very last person in this country to lay off my staff. Because I said, what do these 200 people going to do out there? So I waited 2 or 3 months before I started asking them. And I paid them full redundancy and everything. And it was very emotional to lay off so many people. During COVID was a very harsh period. And obviously most companies shut down. And a lot of companies, particularly multinationals, cut back on salaries and said, if the company is not performing, we'll give you 50% pay. No, I did the opposite. I kept everybody going. I paid everybody, including contract workers. I didn't cut back anybody's salary. I didn't stop anybody's salary. And on top of that, we started giving food rations to my staff. Because I thought, if at bad times, you don't stand by them, in good times, they shouldn't stand by me. It has to be reciprocal, right? So during the bad times, we stuck by. We made losses. I mean, we lost money. But in the big picture, it was just a blip in the wall, right? So we carried on. And, staff stayed with us. They were also struggling. We were struggling. But together, we came out. So some of these inherent, social issues you must be very cognizant of. I think we can be focused on the bottom line. And maybe if it's a multinational or if you're a public limited company, then quarterly results matter or half-yearly results matter. But in a family company, you can take the down and the up together. You're basically your own boss and your own shareholder. And when you're making a decision, and making loss is your money. So there's a big pluses to having a family business, but it does take some real skill to navigate that space.
Yeah, this is very interesting to know because as you brought up this human factor, that the loyalty that comes from the employees also, they are also working for generations. So yes, in India, I know some big houses where it happens like that. Tata for one, this thing I know because I worked closely with Tata. I was with Deloitte and Tata was our audit and I was in charge of Tata Steel. So we have seen that generations of people work there. They don't like to leave. So I understand that how you give that kind of family feeling to them and they give their 100% to you because that belongingness develops. And yes, the multinational companies, they come with a lot of professionalism. But at the same time, there is a certain level of ruthlessness from the employer's side, at the same time from the employee's side also.
Right.
So in your case, I can absolutely understand how it carries on like that. Yes. So with that, in that line only, I would like to ask you that you are the 4th generation and now the 5th generation is also, they are getting ready to get into the business. So, I mean, how do you align them for this? Because a lot of my African friends tell me that they know some people, their business have been very successful, but the next generation don't show interest to come into it. So how you make that happen?
Again, it's a very deliberate move. It doesn't just happen, and it's not random, and there's no automatic that they have to join my business. Between my sister and my brother and myself, we have 8 children. So 2 or 3 things interesting we took very deliberate actions on. One, in the Indian community is a very much a male hierarchy. So with my dad, the first thing he did is he said the 2 sons and his daughter were equal. So my sister works with us. She has, she's equal with us. So we've taken on that philosophy into the next generation. So in our family, we have a number of daughters as well. So we've talked to sons and daughters equally, that any one of these children are allowed to come back to join. But deliberately, since they were little, we've been talking to them about the family business, that you come back, join the business. Every holiday, we try and encourage them to come and work in the company, or at least, move around in the factory. They should feel a connection with the company. We also talk a lot at home about business to them. So it's not that we hide things from them. We quite deliberately talk in front of our children about what we did today in the business, problems. We have a conversation all the time. So in their minds all the time, they're listening to these words. And that's quite interesting because, like my son, for instance, when he turns 18, he finished his A levels. I made him make sure that 2 months he came to the office every single day in the morning. I'm in the office by 6:30 in the morning, and I go home at 6:30 in the evening. But he came with me. But what I was very proud of, that he didn't complain once. He didn't say, "Dad, it's too early for me." He just came. Like it was natural for him to come. My nephew is in Canada right now and he's studying economics, but he's doing his internship 4 months in the company, in our company. So every morning, 7:30, 7, he's in the office, right? Even right now he's there. He goes home at 5:30. He's my sister's son. He feels very happy to be part of this. And then because his family, we know that we have to encourage him. We make sure that he's in every department. So this morning he flew to Mombasa. There's a training session. One of our suppliers, we took him there. We're exposing him as much as possible to what we're doing. Third thing is an incentive, the money incentive. Again, we deliberately have thought about it. So for instance, our company is not owned by us, it's owned by a trust. We have a family trust, which means that none of us technically own the company. It's owned by the family. All of us own it. We're all sort of beneficiaries today to the company. So that for instance, a boy can't bully his sister. That this is my company. A son can't bully, or I can't bully anybody else. We're all equal. And the children are also in the same document. So there's no feeling that I own the company and you don't. The second feeling is we're all equal. So whatever dividends you get, I'll get the same. Third thing, we make sure that all our salaries are always equal. So all our salaries in my generation, they're all the same. We all earn the same amount of money. We all earn the same dividends. And we don't have a separate accounts anyway. We all invest as a family. So ups and downs, we take it as a family, right? These are deliberate efforts. Lots of family businesses collapse because maybe one shareholder is bigger than the other, has a bigger percentage, and he starts to exert himself. Or he earns a little bit more money, and that is his private business. So we deliberately agreed, said nobody's allowed to have a private business except the family business. So I can't earn a salary and go and start my own business. That would be very unfair. My wife and my brother's wife are allowed. They're separate. They're not us in the business. So they can do whatever they want and they can run their own businesses. But my brother and my sister, we shouldn't be spending any other time outside the family business because we're earning money from there. Again, you see that in lots of families, they get a little bit of money and they go and invest themselves. And suddenly they're richer or poorer than their siblings, and then becomes jealousy and ego and all these things come into it. So I think you have to be sensible, but you have to have written rules a little bit, or philosophies in a business that prevents all these mistakes to happen. Again, this is not a perfect formula. We're work in progress. We're learning every single day. We learn from other big families, how they do it. We talk to, clever people. We get consultants to help us out because we don't have all the answers. We know we have a problem, so we talk to external people. And the good thing is, there's a lot of people who have good examples in Nairobi you can benchmark off or get mentoring from, how they do it, how they fail. So it's a constant learning curve we're on.
Yeah, and there is a kind of a rule in the family that you all invest all your time and money and everything in the same family business. You don't indulge in doing something separately. So that is something I think I haven't heard of before. And maybe that really is a big factor for you to walk in this line. But one thing I would like to, I'm a bit curious to know that the newer generation, their thought process, ideas are different, and they have different kind of exposures because they go for education to beyond border in different places. Of course, you have also done, but in their nowadays with everything in your fingertip, the exposure is much more. So with their new ideas and their new thought process, so how open are you to take their new ideas if they come up with some?
So what is interesting is that we have 8 children, as I mentioned. I'm sure not all will join us. So we've got a couple who are saying, they're professionals and lawyers or whatever, and they've got jobs overseas, and they say, look, Dad, we're quite happy to stay where we are, and that's their choice. We can't stop anybody from exercising their rights. So we are quite open to the idea of them joining or not joining. Of course, we'd love them to join us, but if it doesn't happen and they have their own destiny or they find a spouse or something, all these things you have to be open-minded to it. But so my brother and I, we were educated 10, 12 years abroad. From 13, we left the house. We were in boarding school for most of our life. Went to university, all of us did our master's degrees. So we encouraged our children to do the same. So all our children at 13 went to the same boarding school in the UK. It's called Rugby School. So they all been to exactly the same route that we took, all of us, as boarding school. They're all in university similar to ours. So we've tried to make sure they get maximum exposure like we did. We were lucky to do it. Now, when they've all started coming back, like my nephew, we've told all of them, we will encourage any idea. We will fund any idea of yours. But the rule is you have to do it under the Elgen umbrella. That means if you have a good idea, we will fund it for you, but the fruits of your idea should be shared in the family. So we won't say to you, come and we'll fund you and you go and do your own thing. I think that's unfair. So if you have an idea, and we've told all of them, in Elgen, for instance, we have about 15, 17 different departments, different factories. We're trying to give them exposure in each one. And I told each one of them, I said, you've got 15 ready departments to start. Take any one, do the best you can. We'll fund your expansion for you. We'll do all that for you. But again, you have to work in the family. So there are certain restrictions and rules you have to set to yourself, but also to your future generation. We will help you, we'll educate you, we'll train you. My dad gave us a very interesting lesson. So he told us a lot. He said, look, I've educated you, I've paid for your education. And the day you graduate, just give me 5 years of your life in Elgen. And so we asked him, but Dad, that doesn't seem right. He goes, look, I've invested in you. If after 5 years you don't feel like you like this, you're willing, I willingly will let you go and do your own thing. But he was a smart man because he knew as soon as he comes here, as soon as I come here, we get addicted. This is you're suddenly the boss of your own company. So we've given the same offer to our children. If you can, come and work for us for 5 years. See what this place is all about. Again, Kenya is not for everybody. We have to be realistic. It's a tough place to do business. There are pitfalls in it. It's not a smooth life that you do in England or America where things work systematically. It's a tough place to be in. The legal system is tough. Everything's tough. So she might not be for them. They might say, this is too complicated to me. I'd rather just work for somebody at 9 to 5. But my condition to them, come and work for us. Just see what we do. If you don't like it after a couple of years, happy for you to move on. But if you do come, we're open for suggestions. We will do anything you guys want within the framework of the rules of the family.
Okay. Yeah, I can fully see why they will not be really very averse to it because you have created that open environment for them. That, if the moment you make it a rule that, no, you have to do this. With the younger generation, we were also young once and we didn't like such things. So the moment you do that things, they will start revolting. But when it is open and you are giving them option, I think there is a greater chance a lot of them will be willing to come back and give back to the company. I understand that. So What's the next step for Elgen Kenya? Like you are going very strong. You are diversifying and everything. So, is there something new that we can expect coming from?
So as you know, we're now in 4 countries. We're in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. So we're in 4 countries. I think the regional expansion will carry on. I think we have got a massive potential in this country. For whatever anybody tells you, I think Kenya is probably the best place to invest at the moment. I think if you ignore the front headlines in the newspaper and just focus on your business and the economy, I think this country is an incredible country to invest in. So I always tell my friends and family, don't get distracted by what you read in the newspapers. That's just politics. That's just distraction. Keep your head low and just do your business. This country has so much potential. Any fields you see, there's room for more growth, right? You have regional growth. So there's plenty of growth in this country. And I see for the next 10, 15, 20 years, things can only get better. Provision, of course, that, the macro economy stays the same, right? When we understand what I'm saying. If that stays stable, then there's nothing stopping this country from growing. Every country has pluses and minuses. If you go to England, it's very difficult. Climate is an open economy. They've got problems with their own Brexit. Whatever. Every country has pluses and minuses. So if you take Kenya and you say there are negatives, but there are more positives than negatives, and keep your mind and heart here, then there's no chance of you not growing. But things are important. You've got to be dedicated. You've got to be sincere in your business. You've got to be honest. You don't get involved in corruption. It's quite easy to be involved in corruption, but that just distracts your mind, right? If you have an honest personality, focus in your business, focus in your family, I don't think you can go wrong. Unfortunately, a lot of people get distracted with easy money. Everybody else is making easy money. If I pay corruption, I'll get ahead quickly. I've never seen any example where corruption in the end helps you. If you don't pay it back, your children will suffer from it. So I always tell young people, stick to your true north. Stick to what is real in your heart, what is good in your heart, what is good for society in general. Don't get distracted by all this other stuff around you. Then you can't go wrong. Maybe a little less money, maybe a little more money. I don't think there's a number that will make you happy. But it will put food on your table and get your kids educated and a roof on your children. I think those are the simple principles of this country.
Okay, so there is no shortcut to success, definitely. Yes, and perseverance pays off. Yeah, I also believe so. And I have another question for you, that is, in Ethiopia, how long you are operating?
So Ethiopia, we've been there for 10 years, but we had a distributor there who was a good friend of ours, and he distributes on our behalf. Because in Ethiopia, the restrictions are very tough. Meaning, a non-Ethiopian can't do retail, can't do wholesale in Ethiopia. So what we do, we have our friend who does local distribution, but we do a lot of business directly from here. In the last 6 months, the Ethiopian government have liberalized quite a lot. So they're now allowing us to have a representative office. So we've just started an Elgen Kenya Limited in Ethiopia, a representative office. So we now placed our staff there directly. We're not allowed to do trading, but we are allowed to market our products. So we're also very strong in the agriculture sector there over so many years, floriculture and horticulture. We've been very strong. I think we're number one in Ethiopia. But we directly do marketing there. We pick up orders. The farm pays us directly through LCs or whatever they have. There is a foreign exchange problem there. And we directly supply from here to Ethiopia. Again, it's the same products that we make here. We distribute in Tanzania, Uganda. We have distributors in Tanzania and Uganda. So it's the same model, but it's working well. Ethiopia is a really interesting country. I know a lot of Kenyan companies are there now, Safaricom being one. But so it's massive potential, but it's a challenging environment. It's not an easy place to do business. But you can see there is liberalization. There is foreign exchange now is more freely available and traded. I have great hope in Ethiopia. For the last 10 years, I've been campaigning massively to everybody I meet in the government about talking to the Ethiopian government about allowing Kenyans in. We actually have an MOU between Kenya government and Ethiopia government, which was signed about 7 years ago, that gave us preferential treatment. That hasn't been affected as well as it should be. But, it's a massive market, 100 million people. So it's a huge market. And for any Kenyan company, it's going to be a future if it opens up correctly.
Yes. And it's really nice to know from you. And Ethiopia, I really wanted to ask you, because now they're opening up and so many As a consultant, I get a lot of Indian companies who are interested in Kenyan market. They are actually showing interest in Ethiopia and they come to me. So I thought I will ask you. You will be the best person to tell me. So now we are coming to towards the end of this session. So I would request you to say a few things to our viewers who are aspiring entrepreneurs and new professionals.
So there's a couple of things you must remember. First, there's no easy money out there. Nobody can come to you and say, if you corrupt me or do a bribe and you will get ahead. I don't think that works in this country. I think it'd be sincerity, honesty, hard work, these all important components. But you do need a 1% luck. You can call it luck or you can call it God's blessings. You can call it whatever you want. 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration or blessings or whatever. So I think that is important. But that comes only after the 99%. If you really work hard and inspire and work hard, the inspiration comes and somehow somebody will give you a push up. Those are important qualities. Secondly, I think you have to be sure where you want to be. If you want to be in Kenya, then keep your mind and attention and focus here. If you want to be in the UK, move to UK. Don't be half and half. I think especially in our community, people keep their feet in both feet. They have a house there, they have a house here, they have a house in India, whatever. If you're here, you're here. Make sure your family is here, your mind, body, soul is in this country, or else don't be here. If you're distracted in this country, it's a very difficult place to do business. The minute you start saying, I've got a home in India, I might go there for a few months, or I came from India and my citizenship is still there, you're not committed to this country. Then this country doesn't forgive you. If you're here, you're here. Be a Kenyan, be proud to be Kenyan, and work hard. Then everything will fall into place. But lots of our people in our community want to keep feet everywhere, and I've seen it doesn't work. Your children will get distracted, your family gets distracted. You're not fully committed in this country. If you are, I think this country is wonderful.
Thank you so much, and it was very enriching experience for me and our viewers as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, Ananya. Thank you.